Greetings, brothers and sisters. So I had a humorous thought last night. Well, I don't know if humorous, whatever. Well, I was thinking that, based in what I've realized, I've talked about how that my videos on celebrities can get as many as 20 times more views as my videos on spirituality, which is, there's things that I'm saying here in the spiritual videos that are, I don't want to say unique in terms of, there is where I've learned them from the Sajmark tradition, but there's been important breakthroughs that I have an understanding about. And, the videos on celebrities, and the lower it is to, the more it'll get, like the lower level of vibration I cover. There's a ratio there, right? And I was thinking this last night. You could take the exact content that I cover here, the exact subject matter, right? Someone could take videos on the same things that I cover on either channel, whatever it is. And instead of my voiceovers, instead of, my thoughts and my analysis and whatever, the things that I do here, that's a lifetime of learning. I'm an older person, and through training and experiences and traveling and trying different things and having, dyslexia and being introverted and, having a different way of seeing the world, and then all the, reading people through being a preceptor with Sajmark and having a master's degree in counseling and working in treatment centers and doing these type of analysis that I do, whatever all this stuff that I put into the, analysis of the subject matter, the jokes, right? All of it. You could replace my analysis with well-timed fart noises. It could be something else, but I just chose that, right? Just like, some sort of, fart noise after Jojo Magoo said something or whatever. And that channel would be 5 to 10 times more successful than my channels, right? And I'm not taking that personally. It's not, anything about me. But like, it would be a ratio of 5 to 1 people. There would be, for every like 6 people, 5 people would prefer the fart noise channel, right? If they just did some independent, they heard me talking about things. It might even be more than that. It might be like 10 to 1, right? Like, people would prefer hearing fart noises over my analysis, right? Because that's the reality of our situation we live in. Like, I can see it. And it could be anything. It's just, anything of, like, it doesn't have to be that. Anything that's lower vibrational. But it was, in a way to think about it, because, this is where we are as a species. What I talk about here is, low levels of introductory to the spiritual way of viewing the world, to having a relationship with one's soul, and then, the other things that I talk about in terms of truther things and all of it. And the majority of people can't hear those things, right? Whether it's from me or somebody else. And they would prefer, anything else of a lower vibration, because they don't want to even consider that they have to change and rise up to a higher level of consciousness. And that exists also in the truth community as well. But anyways, I thought that was kind of funny, right? And let's start. There's a good meme here, and then we'll get into Kamala Harris. So maybe we'll start with the. Then I think my wife sent me this morning about Whoopi Goldberg, which was kind of interesting. This is from OK Magazine. Whoopi Goldberg accused of passing gas on The View. Again, co-stars growing annoyed by her foul behavior, source says. Not really what I was talking about, but kind of interesting coincidence. And then there's this. I identify as a conspiracy theorist. My pronouns are told you so. And that is from a company called MAGA, which again, if you're a MAGA person, then you're not truly a truther. And there's lots of people in the so-called truth community who, you could say I told you so, but like you really aren't any better than a sheeple, right? The only, if you think about the, the fundamental, I don't know, advantage of being a truther is it's very simplistic, and it's this: the government and the people that run the system can't be trusted. People in general can't be trusted to do the right thing or take the higher path. But people who are in power and all the rest of it can't be trusted less. Like they can be trusted less. Um, I think that's the way I want to say it. You should have less trust for them. And so if they want to give you something like medicine, like the vax or something, the first thought is I can't trust these guys, right? Everything's a jumping off point. I talk about reading the ingredients, how we have to read the ingredients of everything, whatever it is, whether it's food or medicine or anything, because they can't be trusted, right? And that's all it is. It's you're being hyper vigilant to the idea that the people running the system, the media, the corporations, the people in power are untrustworthy. They'll murder you or worse, right? And they are capable of things that you can't really imagine. I was talking about watching that Netflix special on the Korean flight that went down. Not Korean, the Indonesian flight that disappeared, the plane that disappeared. And there are all these conspiracy theories. All these different people had thoughts about what happened, different trains of thought. And, it was interesting to see because these people weren't the run-of-the-mill truthers. They're, normies that wouldn't really want to confront the idea that governments are capable of horrific things, right? One guy was accusing the Russians. This French journalist was accusing the Americans. And then there was all these other various theories, right? And people are hesitant. Oh, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theory, whatever it is. And there's people who are just out and out shills and liars and players and disinformation agents. You could just see all the things in the documentary. It's low level, like, truther stuff. Like they're not really, I wouldn't call them truthers. And if they had just this, idea that governments and corporations and people are capable of some of the worst horrendous, abomination type acts. I mean, creating nuclear weapons or these weapons of mass destruction, for example, and all of it. Chemicals that contaminate the environment and things that hurt people, processed foods, medicines that have horrific side effects. And, they're just capable. People are capable of doing monstrous things, right? There was a movie I watched called Luther something or other. And the movie sucks. It's just a British movie. And it was on Netflix. And the villain in Britain has some of the worst villains. Britain can really dream up these horrible villains. This guy was, just a monstrous person. And he wanted to make being monstrous legitimate. And he was doing things like, blackmailing all these people based in spying on their, internet habits or whatever, which was just a copy of an episode of the Black Box or the Magic Box or whatever it's called on Netflix. And he was blackmailing all these people and then torturing and killing them, and these people were dying in horrific ways. And if you can see something in a movie, not only does it give people ideas, like I was talking about horror movies in my other video, it's out there. If something's imagined or thought about, it's out there, right? It's things that people will engage in, and people will. And that's the reality of our, the world that we live in. March Madness crowd boos Kamala Harris at her alma mater. It's kind of hard to hear the boos. I'll turn it up here.
Oh, there she is. Vice President Kamala Harris. Second.
That's Dougie Fresh.
Class of 1986. Howard's most famous alum.
She goes to Howard that was losing to... Howard was a number 16 seed losing to Kansas. The audio wasn't very good. But here's a better, thing of the boos and the...
Coach Blakeney is a prime example
of not just the basketball aspect of what he.
So she was given some booze that you really can't hear in these poor videos here. But certainly there wasn't any cheers, right? But the reason I'm showing you this, there they are. And that was the announcer. That was for TV. The guy was announcing. But she comes into the locker room and
You guys are so good.
she says, you guys are so good. They got hammered by a number one seed because they were going to lose. It's only one time in history a number one seed is lost to a number 16 seed. But she comes in.
You guys are so good. You played hard. You played to the very last second. You made all us Bisons so proud.
You made us proud.
Hustled out there. You are smart.
You're smart. Like you're smart. She gathered that. She knows about basketball.
You are disciplined.
You're disciplined.
You put everything you had into the game.
Exactly. Except for you. You one guy there, you were slacking. All the rest of you guys, you put 140 million% into the game.
And you know that's what it's about, right? Until the last minute. You guys did that.
You did it to the last minute.
Didn't stop until the last second. You did not stop.
You didn't just like lay down and die like some of these quitters having cardiac arrest. You actually completed the game. You finished the game.
And that is so inspiring. So you keep playing with chin up and shoulders back.
Exactly. Chin up, shoulders back.
Because you showed the world who Bison are.
Who are Bison? Tell us about Bison.
Right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, literally what you have done is in historic proportion. You know, I was at Howard back in the day where we were just happy that there was a game.
Woo.
Much less getting to this place. Right? And I see Bison literally all over the world. And
She sees Bison everywhere. It's like dead people. For the Sixth Sense, she sees Bison everywhere. They're Bison, like they're Bison in the Senate. They're Bison right now. There's Bison everywhere.
we've been talking about you, this team, you all, this team, this year, this team. You make us so proud.
Makes us proud. You got your asses handed to you, but you're good. We're proud to be Bison.
So I know you may not be feeling great right now.
Because I'm kind of annoying. I got this devil-like presence that sucks the energy out of a room. I know that like right now you feel like you're listening to the Antichrist, but you should be proud.
Okay? But know who you are.
You're Bison.
Excellence. You are hard work. You are powerful. And you are winners. All right? So please know that. Please know that. And I'll see you later. And if you guys ever want to come and do a White House tour, where's Coach? Where's Coach?
Coach is throwing up. Where's Coach?
There you are. Come, so we plan, if you guys want at some point, right? When it's like when you feel like playing hooky at Friday afternoon, whatever. Just come and we'll do a White House tour, okay? All right, I'm so proud of you guys. So proud of you. All right, I'll see you later. Coach, thank you.
Woo! Woo! She's a Bison. Woo! Let's go off with a cackle. Kaboom. All right, so that's Kamala Harris. Indictment antsy. This is Huffington Post. Mike Pence doubles down on homophobic joke about Pete Buttigieg. So the next thing was Giselle Barreto Federman. I want to live in a world where we can read posts like this instead of tragic ones. This is strength and this is power. Thank you, Sam. Welcome back. 3 months ago, I made a decision to take a break from hockey and return home and take care of myself and my mental health. It's happening a lot with athletes. After seeking the help I needed, I am now ready to return to the Wilkes Bar to rejoin my team. I want to thank everyone who helped me get through this difficult time, including my family, my girlfriend, my friends, my medical team, the entire Pittsburgh Penguins organization, my teammates, and fans. They showed unconditional love and support. I strongly encourage everyone to speak openly about mental health because it affects us all. For those of you who may be struggling, please know that you are not alone. Sam Poulin, 22. So she's got this big thing because her husband isn't able to do his job, and he's in a psych ward right now, right? This is, Federman's wife. And, it's been a big problem lately where athletes are just saying they have mental health issues and not willing to do their job. And you think about all the sucky jobs that are out there. And I've had a bunch of them. I worked as a janitor. I scrubbed toilets and, I did other sucky jobs. I mean, working in treatment centers, and those were even worse. I mean, all these jobs, right? And, many of you have sucky jobs. You go to work and you hate it. It's life sucking. You're selling your time for money. It's just, and you're only there because you have to be. And if you could say, hey, I'm depressed, and take 3 months off, you totally would, right? I mean, we have like the worst maternity leave in the, the sort of developed world. I mean, in Europe, you get much more time off for having a baby. And most people are forced back to work, and they're depressed every day. Like, they're depressed by their job, they're depressed by their lives. People are miserable, right? And checking yourself into a treatment center, I mean, I can't imagine anything worse, right? Like, like having to go to a treatment center and be in one of these places and, the psychological world. I mean, that's to me even worse than a crappy job. And life sucks. Life is difficult. Life is monotonous and boring at times and, traumatic and life-sucking and all these things. But you have to keep on going. Like, what if you think animals just stop doing what their specific species does? They're fighting for survival every moment, right? It's these rich, wealthy people with these important positions, athletes, and, this case, a politician that can just say, oh, I'm not feeling so great. I'm going to go into treatment for 3 months and get reprogrammed and come back out. Like, normal people can't do that, right? They have to struggle and fight every day. One of my viewers brought this to my attention. Reserve requirements. This is the official Federal Reserve website or whatever it is. An announcement on March 15, 2020, the board reduced reserve requirement ratios to 0%, effective March 26, 2020. This action eliminated reserve requirements for all depository institutions. So what is a reserve requirement? The amount of cash that financial institutions must have in their vaults or at the closest Federal Reserve Bank in line with their deposits made by customers. So I've talked about fractional reserve banking. And now they don't have to have any of your money in the bank. Like, so you can put your money in the bank and they have zero money there. They don't have to have any money in there. They don't have to. They might have some because people want some cash when they come in, but they don't have to have any. So you can have a bank without any money in it, right? They can loan out all your money and invest it. And when you come calling, they might have some money that's not yours in the bank that they can give you, or they might not, right? And the FDIC will give you whatever amount of money that the bank has insured you for, or they won't, because at some point they just won't, and your money will disappear. So to go with that, I think 3 of my viewers sent me this. It is a person who looks like a truther person posting under the name Boop It 2.0, right? Going along with the year of the effort. I'm not talking about year of the effort, but like in terms of me naming years or whatever I do with that, whatever it is, it's more accurate. This is the year of effort more than the year of the ghoul or the year of the broken or the year of the whatever it was, right? This is like, I mean, you can totally feel everyone's just like, F it. It's just and so I'm not talking about it because I'm just like, F it, right? But it's right there. But this is what this person had to say.
Hey guys, I want to show you recent changes on the US debt clock. Look, it no longer says Federal Reserve. Now it says US Treasury dollars. But if you look at the snapshots from different years, like for example, here's 2014, you'll notice it says Federal Reserve monetary base. It no longer says that. What do you think that means? US Treasury dollars. Let me know in the comments.
Well, F it. It means you're effed. Or it means we're all effed, right? There was going to be a time, like this is how this economy ends. It's called a debt-based user economy, and they usury economy, and they maximize the ability to create money out of thin air, create value out of nothing, right? And so, in the material world, you have to make something. You have to use your time. You have to gather materials to create something that has value. But here you get value beforehand where you get loaned money based in an idea or a proposal or just, a signature, these wealthy people. And then you can create something out of value with this debt that you owe, this IOU that you owe, this loan. And you can buy something like a house before you have the money to buy a house, right? And because of this, people could buy things that were extraordinarily expensive and then pay it off. A car that they couldn't afford, a house they couldn't afford, and all these other things with credit cards. And that just increased the amount of debt, the amount of IOU, the promise to pay, and banks loaning out money that they didn't have. I mean, this is part of the fractional reserve system. It used to be a 12-to-1 ratio. You had to have $100 of depositor money in your bank to loan out $1,200 to another person. But now they can just manufacture and create wealth by monetary value without money, right? Without any sort of money to back it. And money doesn't have to have any value, right? Money's just a promissory note, a promise to pay. So that's debt-based as well. So when you can conjure money out of thin air, which we can, or they can, then they're just going to do it. And now there's $2 quadrillion of debt. And that's from years ago when I did research into it. That I estimated around $2 quadrillion. It could be 10 right now. And the earth isn't even worth that. All the resources on the earth isn't worth, $10 quadrillion. I mean, you think about a billion is 1,000 million, and a trillion is 1,000 billion. And a quadrillion is 1,000 trillion. So you can't even comprehend how much money that is, right? It's like, $1 trillion will reach the moon if you stay, something like that. Like crazy, It's unimaginable in its scope and its size. And so what happens is at some point the debt gets so ludicrous and people lose faith in it. And then since it has no real value, all the debt disappears. Because people are like, we're not paying it, or no one can pay it, or whatever it is. We don't believe in it anymore. And then once the illusion is broken, it just collapses. And that's what we're in right now, a phase where at some point, I don't know when it's going to be, wealth is going to disappear. Things that people think they own, and I mean, all of it, right? Like in terms of their money, in terms of their value, of their whatever it is, their stocks and bonds. It's all just going to disappear. Or at least, most of it will. And the people who can retain some of it will, have whatever they have, and everyone else will be screwed. And so that's what it means. To answer your question. And the Federal Reserve has taken their name off of this debacle, so that's a bad sign, right? We're in the beginning of the end or the middle of the end, I don't know. But we're getting close to the end of the end. ISIS could hit Western interests in Europe and Asia after Afghanistan within 6 months as they creep back to the prominence under the Taliban, U.S. Army general warns. And so here, ISIS-K could launch attacks on U.S. citizens in Europe and Asia within 6 months. They're bringing them back, right? There's an American asset, which it's just as factual as I can do it, right? As I can prove it. ISIS came out of the Iraqi elite soldiers that were under American control, and they were given an oil field and all this stuff, right? I've talked about this in the past. And so they, Trump just didn't do anything with them because that's all it took. He didn't order them to do anything. And then Jojo Magoo brought him back and called him ISIS-K when he was getting hammered in Afghanistan for withdrawing. And, now they're bringing him back, right? So this is hard to believe. So Snoop Dogg, which I have documented, will sell anything. This guy's the biggest shill. He's as far away from being an artist as you could be. And now he has a thing called Doggy Land. I yes you not.
Doggy Land, yeah!
Wow, wow, wow.
Bow wow wow.
Good morning, pups. It's time to roll. Let's find a seat. High five, come on. We got barks a lot. Yap, yap, and wags all aboard the bus. Let's head to class.
Wheels on the bus go round and
And you thought when he joined with Martha Stewart, he was the biggest sellout of all time. And then those commercials, the general commercials for auto insurance.
round, round and round.
So you guys remember from his music video where he dressed the guy up like Donald Trump in a clown suit. He pointed a gun at his head and then fires it. You can see it fire. You see the actual bullet and then it says bang. Let's slow it down here. It's going slow and bang. You saw it flash a light there. So this is the image you just saw. Trump dressed as a clown suit and this guy who's, an avid drug user and a, alleged gang member. And he just took a shot at the president in some form or another. So what are you doing these days, Snoop?
Cartoon series designed for kids, I say preschoolers, toddlers, and eventually kids of all ages because it's so influential, it's so educational. And
You can see Snoop here when he's dancing. He looks like Anubis, which I'll show you in a moment.
influential, it's so educational, and it's so fundamentally smart, the way we put it together with song, dance, and education.
Anubis is in charge of the going to hell, right? Okay, so I just noticed something, right? Maybe you noticed it as well. These bones look a lot like, balls and the shaft there, phallic symbol. And they're also the in the front of the Freemasonic, or in the Freemasonic temples, they have these two pillars called Boaz and Joachim, whatever it is. I can't remember anymore. But they're there, right? I haven't covered it in a while. So it looks like a Freemasonic temple. You can see it's not really a checkered floor, but, it is what it is. And then a couple of phallic symbols that also those towers that are eventually going to reveal that these are bones.
Bow Wizzle is the character that I
That's Bow Wizzle.
voice. He's the big brother, mentor, looks after all of the young
It's Bow Wizzle.
pups. Great director, great singer, but most importantly, he's a phenomenal rapper. And the kids love rap.
Yeah, until he sold his soul.
So when he takes the lead and starts it off, they love to follow his lead, and he makes it fun, he makes it cool, and he makes it easy to learn. So
Snoop Dogg, right? So this is Anubis, a jackal-headed deity who presided over the embalming process and accompanied dead kings to the afterworld. He actually was in charge of the underworld, or what they called it, right? Which is, the Greeks' version of God. The Greeks' version of hell, right? And so that's Snoop Dogg, and he wants to educate your toddlers. Okay, so one of my viewers sent me this. Wait, what? So we got planes that can do that now.
has released the 2022 state test results known as MCAP, Maryland Comprehensive Assessment Program. Baltimore City's math scores were the lowest in the state. Just 7% of 3rd through 8th graders tested proficient in math. That means 93% could not do math at grade level. But that's not all we found. Project Baltimore combed through scores at all 150 city schools where the state math test was given. We found in 23 Baltimore City schools, there were 0 students who tested proficient in math.
So Baltimore is, a horrible city, right? And, Maryland has an area in Maryland, like it's one of the rich places. There's these places, in Fairfield County and Connecticut off the New York coast, and the Hamptons, and the Gold Coast, and places in California. And there's a place in Maryland that's one of the richest richest per capita incomes in the country. This is kind of great. Somebody sent me this.
Why, you did say something, didn't you?
They had to take the top of my head off a couple times, see if I had a brain. And I had these terrible headaches, was diagnosed with having anyway, they had to take the top of my head off a couple times, see if I had a brain. But
How can you talk if you haven't got a brain?
Go, you know the thing.
Okay, I got 2 comments to get to. One's I don't want to say positive comment, but not a bad comment. It's a funny comment. And the person writes, so I made a short video, JoJo. That's not the funny one. That's the hostile one. And this one, Madonna, Madam Expiration Date, thinks Jamaica smells like ghoul. She said she was smelling herself under the armpits, if you saw the video. And and I said, and she said she smelled like Jamaica, and I said, well, we know you smell like ghoul. I don't know what Jamaica smells like, but we know Madonna smells like ghoul. And I'm like, you're confusing. Well, you get the idea. And the person wrote, I love the smell of Jamaica in the morning. It smells like ghoul. That's a reference to the famous film Apocalypse Now, how napalm smells like victory. And then this person writes, this is a short video I made, and it's kind of hilarious, but I want to read the comment first, and I'll tell you why it's funny. Jojo Magoo, bank collapse is Trump's fault. And this person writes, they always try to make some kind of, pockets full of garbage or pockets full of boop or whatever it is. This person, hi, pocket toe suck. On the Republican failure again, 3 smiley faces. Who are you going to blame now when you can see a video of DF Trumpy, how he ruined our financial system? You hypocrite. Are you mad? Are you upset about something, bro? Bro, are you mad? Are you mad for some reason? Are you, experiencing some sort of emotional difficulties? What I actually said in the longer video is that Biden was a little bit right because Trump deregulated everything. But in the short video, I didn't say that because I didn't have enough time. And it is, whatever it is. But Jojo Magoo blames everything on Trump regardless of that. And so this person calling me a hypocrite when, I've said this thing before about Trump deregulating everything in the economy, and that's caused some problems. Eventually, the economy is going to collapse either way, but Trump, had a good run of it because when you deregulate everything, there's lots of money, like there is in Ponzi schemes, and then it fades away, right? And that's what everyone needs to know about the economy is, we're living all the lifestyle we have because the debt-based economy grows extraordinarily fast because of the sorcerer's fee. The bankers are sorcerers conjuring up money. And the sorcerer has interest, which is their fee. And so let's say they loan out $100,000 for someone to create a business or a house or whatever it is, right? And then they tack on 5% interest or whatever, 10% interest, whatever it is. And the money that they loan out will never be as much as the money plus the interest, right? The interest is extra. And so if they create $100,000, they're really creating $105,000, whatever the interest ends up being, $120,000. And so the economy always has to grow to compensate for the interest, because the economy you're going further and further into debt just based in the interest. And so because of that, they always have to make it look like the economy is growing to catch up with the interest. But it's like the greyhound dogs chasing a rabbit around a circle. They're never going to catch the rabbit, right? And God forbid if they do, because that, brings the end to the dog and the game and all these things. But Anubis, right? And it can never happen. And so the money plus interest screws you. And therefore, even with a debt-based economy without the interest, it's effed. But it's the interest that really makes it, a losing effort, because you can never get out of debt. And now we have a situation where if you paid all the debt off, let's say everyone paid off their credit cards, there was no more debt. They wiped out all the debt. Well, we would have practically no money then, because the money is all debt, right? You could say the printed dollar is debt in itself because it's a promise to pay as a promissory note, because that's also debt, right? But at least it's something. Money is tangible. And the currency there's something like $60 trillion in currency, and the rest is all computerized debt and IOU and digital money and the rest of it now, with crypto even more. And so, it's just an illusion. And when it comes crashing down, it's going to be nobody's fault. It's all everybody's fault for participating in a scheme. And then you have people who have very little skills, right? People are so remedial, like I was saying in the beginning of the video, that, videos with, fart noises or something, like it, something trivial, is more appealing than, the stuff that I do here, right? I'm fighting a losing battle against fart noises in terms of, bringing in an audience. That's just how people are. And going back to this thing with Giselle Fetterman and this new phenomenon where high-profile people just quit and go into treatment, whether they're athletes, now it's happening more with athletes, they just don't show up for work. And it's like, oh, you're so brave to admit you have emotional problems and go into treatment. Now, first of all, treatment doesn't work. I worked in treatment centers. I worked in the psychological field. And, it's a mess of a field, right? Some people benefit from therapy. I benefited a little bit, went into therapy. But it really, was a marginal benefit. And it helped me find the Sagemark system, which really helped me in terms of being able to function and, do what I had to do in life. But, and find my purpose and goal and the rest of it. But most people are just lost and miserable. They're bankrupt. They have no energy. People are functioning on a much lower level than any other species on Earth. Like if human beings were livestock, nobody would buy them, right? They're sick. They're crazy. They're, in terms of comparing it to cattle or chickens or whatever it is, right? They don't produce anything. They fight, it's just a, horrible species. We're a horrible species right now. Weak and, ineffective, and we've lost our ability to be natural, and we've lost our skills and our survival skills and our knowledge and our will to fight against the elements. Most people will cave, certainly the younger generation. Each generation gets weaker. And that's where we are, right? Ready to cave at the slightest, loss of lifestyle. People just give up when they don't have, the things that keep them going. When you don't have all the abundance of food and electricity and running water and all this heat and, air conditioning. Imagine if you had to, you never had air conditioning or heat again. You had to, burn stuff and, whatever, just to keep warm. And just think about not having running water to flush your toilets and, take showers and baths and things like that. Like you just no longer had that. Like it's gone. Like it's never coming back, right? Things like that. Those things disappear. Never mind the internet and the rest of it. And people just fold like a card house. And you could just see it in the comments and the way people express themselves on the internet. I mean, it's embarrassing. Like we've become an embarrassment of a species. It's a good thing the other species can't watch the internet TV. But if there's aliens out there, they're like, oh, WTF is going on down there? Anyways, only spirituality will save this world. Is Paramano definitely born for the apocalypse and the ascension? Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.